started on Wall Street with a couple of people going down and saying, okay, we're going to set up an occupation, we're going to stay here until we effect change, and now it's all over the place.
The system is broken and it needs to be fixed.
Only people who have enough money can run for office. That's kind of like what my sign says here. When money equals power, there is no democracy.
Just as easily as we can be mad at the corporations for doing these things, I'm just as upset at the government for allowing them to do it.
Why are you guys standing out in the middle of the road at 12 o'clock at night in the freezing cold? Like, the same people that go home and complain that they can't pay their bills, or that their kids are racking up college tuition bills that they can't pay. You can't buy good food for your family. It's a full circle kind of thing, and everybody's affected by it.
Welcome back to Occupy the Media. In just a few minutes, we're going to be taking your calls. And in this last segment, we talked about how the U.S. government is spying on its own citizens. What do you think? Join the conversation by calling us at 877-575-FSTV or follow the conversation on Facebook and Twitter. In this segment, we want to talk about how the corporate media, the 1% media, is covering the issues that impact the rest of us, the 99%. And on the line through Skype, we have Jason Leopold, senior editor at truthout.org. Jason, thanks for joining us.
Pleasure. Thanks for having me on.
So, new records made available through the Freedom of Information Act reveal that the Department of Homeland Security is closely monitoring the Occupy Wall Street movement. The first media organization to ask the department to turn over documents was truthout.org. So, Jason, tell us first, what prompted you to take on this story, and what did your investigation find?
Sure. Well, last October, when there was the crackdown across, perhaps I believe it was a dozen cities, it appeared that there was some sort of coordination taking place. And we heard a lot of individuals suggest that the federal government was involved. We heard reports about Homeland Security vehicles at a number of different Occupy protests. So at that point, I simply just decided to file a Freedom of Information Act request with the Department of Homeland Security, as well as the FBI, to determine whether or not they were in fact involved.
And so you submit these requests to these big federal behemoths, and you waited, and then finally these documents came back, and you wrote a big report on what you found. Yes. Tell us what does it tell you? At least this initial batch of documents. What does it tell you about how the federal agencies are viewing and surveilling Occupy?
Well, it's clear from the documents that there was great interest in Occupy Wall Street from the inception of the protest movement.
Looks like Jason has frozen up there.
I want to make it very clear.
We're going to see if we can get him back. Hopefully the line will come through.
These batch of documents came from the crackdown last October.
Okay,
However,
looks like we're definitely losing him there. But Don, before we get him back,
yes.
What's so interesting about this investigation is it's the first time I've seen an actual news organization take that on.
Yeah, no, it's a wonderful thing that Truth House has done, and congratulations to Jason, who was the reporter on this story. It also says that the agencies, the federal agencies that are part of the Homeland Security, which is this mega bureaucracy that was created right after 9/11, is creating a climate of fear and intimidation by surveilling and monitoring and spying on the Occupy protests.
But should we really be surprised, though? I mean, we're not surprised.
We're not surprised.
Of course, they're going to be surveilling
right.
these
This should be considered, a given. Take this for granted that they're going to do this, and like they have done in previous decades. For example, the COINTELPRO program that was directed against the radicals of the 1960s and 70s, the anti-war movement, the original Black Panther Party back then. This was the federal government. These were federal agencies operating clandestinely within domestic groups.
Or even more recently, how the federal agencies have infiltrated and brought cases against groups like the ELF, the Earth Liberation Front,
Right.
and Earth First. But Marcy, Occupy Wall Street, they know that they're under surveillance, whether it's from the federal authorities or local authorities or both. How have you seen them reacting to this in terms of how they plan, and how do they fight off paranoia?
I'm not sure how they fight off paranoia, but I think, the way that they've been going about their business hasn't really changed. Like Don was saying, they know, and I'm pretty sure expected to a certain extent that this was going to happen. But, I think them changing any of the way they walk or talk or say would be them, giving in and making it seem like they're guilty of something, which they're not.
Jason Leopold, truthout.org, we've gotten you back, and
Yes.
tell us specifically what did you find amid these documents that you've reported on at your website?
Well, again, I want to make it clear, no, in these documents, there was no evidence of a coordinated crackdown by the federal government. However, it does show that from the inception of Occupy, that the Department of Homeland Security was interested, that we have fusion centers scattered throughout the country that have asked for, quote, intelligence products. In these documents, there's several from the Secret Service. They have put together reports in which they show that there was interest and there was monitoring taking place over there as well. There were some concerns about civil liberties on the inside, in which you had several officials within the Department of Homeland Security that were concerned that the actions that they were taking early on rose to the level of unauthorized surveillance. So the question becomes, what purpose or what led to the federal government immediately monitoring this group? So, it's clear that was taking place. And then at the same time, you had the media bombarding the Department of Homeland Security with questions about what their role is. And it was pretty unclear that internally they were not very sure what their own role was.
And Jason Leopold, this isn't the end of this, because you actually have a second batch of requests that you've submitted that you'll be getting hopefully sometime soon, or years to come.
Yeah, actually, they're releasing these documents, and I have.
Oh, looks like we're losing Jason Leopold again. The Skype, the internets are really
Homeland Security is monitoring this.
Then we'll really get paranoid, Don. Yeah. All right, so you've heard enough from us. Now we want to hear from you. The lines are open. Give us a call at 877-575-FSTV or connect with us on our Facebook and Twitter pages. When monitoring the Occupy movement, how close is too close? Is the Department of Homeland Security violating protesters' First Amendment rights? And on those social media pages, we asked the question, why do you think the Department of Homeland Security was keeping an eye on Occupy Wall Street? Susie writes, it's because they are afraid the people have found them out. Elizabeth chimes in with, they do it because they want to crush the revolution before it begins. Jenny wrote, they are monitoring everyone as if their next breath depended on it. Okay, well, we have a caller on the line. Joel from Texas, you're on Occupy the Media.
Yes, I think the most important thing that we can do as a society, the boldest move that we can make, would be to really, really make an attempt every day to go back to local consumership. Dunkin' Donuts serves an average of 30 cups of coffee per second in the United States, and I just don't think that we can continue on like this. Not only would it help us with corporate tyranny, which was y'all's subject, but also the most important thing to the 99%, which is what I believe would be unemployment, because I'm middle class.
And so, Joel, in terms of breaking away from corporate rule, bringing it back to local businesses, buying locally, is that essentially what you're getting at?
Yes, sir, and buy in bulk if you can from local, because any amount of money that we can save and make these people realize that we're the taxpayers, because that's what our country was founded on, is the people had the voice because the people have the money. Okay, well, Joel from Texas, thanks a lot for your call. Jason Leopold, are you really back this time? I think you are. Why don't you finish up with what you're saying about Department of Homeland Security surveillance of Occupy? I'm sorry, say that. Of surveillance of the Occupy Wall Street movement.
Yeah, so it's clear that there was, surveillance that in a form, not wholesale surveillance, but in various cities that obviously there was some sort of concern. Pittsburgh, New York City, obviously, in fact, Portland as well. There are a number of documents that talk about the Federal Protective Service, which is the sort of law enforcement agency that falls under Department of Homeland Security. Those are all the vehicles that people spoke about. But I do want to point out that in mid-April there will be another set of documents, and in fact that they actually do have quite a bit of documents here. And I was told that these documents will come from the Coast Guard and even the TSA as it relates to Occupy. So it'll be interesting.
And Jason, these were, of course, documents that they turned over to you under the Freedom of Information Act. How heavily redacted were these? Did you actually get a good sense of what was happening?
Some of these are heavily redacted. In fact, most of it has to do with names. There are certain statements that were put together that that are redacted. Still, there's quite a bit of information there in which we can tell what they were doing in the very early days. And these documents cover a time frame, say between early September, right around to the end of November or so. But it started picking up in mid-November.
Okay, Jason Leopold, senior editor for truthout.org. Great story. Everyone should go read it and stay tuned to your website for stories to come. Thanks a lot for joining us.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Okay, and before we go, we have a social media post. Lori E. posted, Homeland Security is the first department that needs to go. It's the enabling department for the military and private mercenaries. It needs to be renamed the Homeland Delusion Department. Okay, well there's a proposal. We're going to take another quick break, but let's continue this conversation. Call us at 877-575-FSTV, post a comment on our Facebook page, or follow us on Twitter. Do you think the Department of Homeland Security is putting a chill on freedom of speech?
Ludicrous idea, it seems, not to work for profits, but to work for, your community.
Most of these people have places that they could go and stay inside, but there's symbolism behind this. What we don't understand is that there's, millions of people that don't have places to go that are warm, right? And this is what this is supposed to show people. Show them that we'll stay outside until they have a place to go inside too.
The first step in doing something about something like that is to get together. There's power in numbers.
We don't need to stand for this anymore, and people all over the country are saying we've had enough and something has to be done.
Truly an amazing way to solve problems. People coming together where everyone has a voice and everyone has a vote.
Everyone can look around and see there's something going wrong here. Time has come to change the system.
Hello, I'm Antoinette June, and this is your Occupy Update. April 16th is the national occupation of Washington, D.C., Occupy Power. On April 16th, occupiers will greet Congress's return to D.C. with direct actions as they occupy power and show just how strong Occupy Power is. For more information, please visit nowdc.org.
You're watching Free Speech TV, a network powered by the people.
Matt, your article lists, it's a laundry list of illegal activities that this bank has been involved in. Can you talk about some of those cases, ripping off of the unemployed?
Yeah, it's unbelievable. When I was doing this piece, I actually had to have like a cheat sheet up on my wall with that was color coded. Like, the green was for ripping off depositors, yellow was for ripping off institutional investors. There are so many of these different scams they were involved with. The two that to me are the most incredible are municipal bid rigging. Bank of America a couple of years ago paid a $137 million settlement because they were caught rigging the bids for municipal bond issues in at least 88 different cases. Across, I think there was 25 different states. What this means is whenever some municipality, it could be the Guam Power Authority or the city of Baltimore, when they want to raise money, they have to do it through an investment bank, and they're supposed to do it through an auction process where all the banks compete to see how much they're going to pay to get that business. Well, these banks have been systematically colluding and submitting artificially low bids, and there's usually an insider on the municipal side who kind of games the whole process. They've been systematically doing this around the country for years.